Hey guys, Kakarot197 again. This time with a review of the Gundam Military Generation Zeon Soldier number 3 from the original Gundam series, provided to me by my favorite online hobby store, Hobbylink Japan. Links to buy your own G.M.G down below. And at first glance, things really aren't looking that bad. But once we get closer, not too bad is really the best I can say. Seam lines, well, not too bad. There's a really bad one on the head, but the rest is manageable. Nub marks, noticeable, but I mean in general, not too bad. The attention to detail though could use some work. We've got some inconsistencies, we've got some damage, we've got some stress marks, which were there straight out of the box. This is not because I played with it or did something with it. And I have seen pictures of other people who bought this thing who had similar and sometimes even worse issues. So quality control definitely could have used some work as well. And then the thing that can really make or break a human figure, the face. At first it was a bit too neutral for my tastes, but as I was posing it and taking pictures, I did find that it went surprisingly well with a variety of poses and situations. But at the same time, I still think this figure would have benefited from multiple facial options a la Figma. So purely in the looks department, it's quite the average figure. The colony-sized elephant in the room then is that the price doesn't quite match what we're getting. It's a 10 centimeter or 4-inch figure for just shy of 4,000 yen or $40. And while the accessories are one of the highlights of this figure, I don't feel like they quite make up for the price we're paying. First up, we have a nice array of 4 pairs of hands. We have the open palm hands that are on the figure right now. We have these closed fist hands, which are nicely detailed. We get a pair of trigger finger hands that go up and down, and this one had a little bit of an accident at the factory. And then we get another pair of trigger finger hands, but instead of up and down, these go side to side. So that is a cool feature to see. For the stuff we can put inside of the hands then, we get a typical Zeon machine gun, which is really just one piece. We do get a magazine on it, but that is not removable, nor do we get any spare magazines with this figure. And while I also can't really call this the most detailed gun I've ever seen, at the very least it is fun to pose. Next up then are some accessories that will go onto the holes on our belt. We get this utility pouch, this one grenade, and then these what I believe are like those potato masher style German grenades. And in case you were wondering, of course they are not removable. And then for the backpack, they had a pretty good idea to make sure that all 3 of the Zeon soldiers could use all 3 of the backpacks, while still keeping the production process as streamlined as possible. All 3 of them come with their own unique set of straps, which are also handily labeled on the inside, and then on the back they have a universal connector, and our Zeon Soldier number 3 comes with a radio backpack. To attach the straps, it's very simple. You grab onto your figure, causing all of the other accessories to fall off, and then what I usually do is simply rip off the limbs. Now, for any Zeon fans watching, this might be painful, but just keep in mind, this is hurting you way more than it does me because I'm a fan of the Federation. There we go, and now all she needs is her included binoculars, and then depending on the time of year, she can either report that the Federation is withdrawing or that the Federation is getting way too close for comfort. Then we also get a completely different head, just in case you want to display her with the helmet. And the problem here is that this scratch here was not caused by me. That's how it was out of the box. Another problem, if you want to use that head, something you might have noticed when I was putting on the backpack, when you just pop off the head, This goes really easily, but the color sticks to the head. And as you might have noticed, you gotta get that off to change the head. So it is quite a hassle replacing the heads. Moving right along, we also get this belt here, which I don't actually see used anywhere on the box or the manual, so I'm not 100% sure what to do with this. I believe this might be usable for the big bone soldier because, look at the waist, that's not going to fit. So what I'm just doing with it is pop off that head again and use it as like a shoulder strap thing. I mean, it does kind of align with the way those pouches are on it. And then the final accessory that we're getting is this part of a machine gun, which becomes a full machine gun once you buy all 3 of the action figures. Now, that is to say, you could still use this to turn your Zeon Army figure into a Zeon Marine figure.
You can shoot and move with this. Let me show you.
And then finally, let's have a look at the articulation of this thing, because that is without a doubt the highlight of this figure. The head is the weakest part. It's on a double ball joint and it's just going to pop off every single time, no matter which way you move it in. For some reason, that collar just does not want to stay on. These shoulders then are amazing. This is on a ball joint, so that's going to give us some nice rotation. There's a hinge inside of that thing, and then there is an extra ball joint, so this arm is going to do whatever you want it to do. Then it'll rotate around below the shoulder, bends on 2 joints for a full bend. Then all of the hands are on pegs, and then they will have 1 hinge. The waist then has a whopping 3 ball joints for some really good articulation in whichever way you want. There's a ball joint up here, a ball joint right there, and then a ball joint in between there as well. These flaps then are made from a nice bendy rubber, allowing the legs to go forwards like that, and then they will also go even further forwards, going out because of that part. The backwards movement then doesn't go quite that far in a straight line because of the detail on her derriere, but it does go further once you move it out a little bit. The normal outwards movement is unexpectedly amazing as well. It'll rotate around, bend at the knees on 2 joints, and then the feet are on a revolver joint. They go forwards a little bit, backwards a little bit. It will rotate around, and then they also have a toe joint. So I think it's sufficient to say that out of all of the problems you might have with this figure, articulation isn't going to be one of them. So as always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? And I'm just kind of going to go back to my opening statement. It's not too bad. At 3,920 yen, it definitely feels more on the expensive side, and for that price, you can absolutely either get better looking action figures or get a similar action figure for a cheaper price. But still, I would say that it's at least worth considering getting one of these figures for your collection. Not to mention that if this line does well enough, we might see them expanding into different factions or maybe also named characters as well. Then for some size comparisons, first up, here it is next to the McFarlane Master Chief from Halo 3 and the Figma Asuna from Sword Art Online, who, at the time of her release, was priced very similarly to this figure. So again, I can't help but feel that our Zeon last year is the least impressive of the figures on screen right now. Next up then, here she is next to the impressive looking Akronte from Buzoshinki and the Gundam fixed figuration Jim Sniper Custom. Now, you might be thinking it's a bit unfair to compare this figure to the very well-equipped Buzoshinki figure, who obviously came with much more stuff, and you're right, it's not fair. Back in 2009, Akronte was cheaper. And then finally, here she is next to the standard size Gym Custom and the always bulky Zaku 3. Did I mention that this is quite a small figure? Anyways, that has been all for this review of this GI Zeke figure brought to you by Hobbling Japan. Again, links down below. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope all of you watching have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.